Hello and welcome to the Tables of Knowledge 2024. There's two of these. I'm going to do one this week and one next week because it's a really good way of covering a lot of topics. So let's get into it. Biochemical test. Do we know these? So first of all, this one is the Benedict's reagent, and the sugar and the positive test goes from blue to orange or brick red. Now you have to boil it as well. So when boiled, so you have to heat it in a water bath. On that one, starch, it's the iodine solution, or potassium iodide you could put. And this turns from, well, iodine is like a browny coloured, and it looks black, but it's called blue black. It's so blue, it looks black. And the biuret test, this tests for protein. It goes from blue, very light blue, to lilac. Okay, and I've seen that as a 6 marker before. Describe how you could show the contents of a seed contain sugar, starch, and protein. So it's know your names of the tests and the colour changes. Easy. Next, aerobic and photosynthesis. So aerobic respiration, it is an exothermic reaction. Photosynthesis is an endothermic reaction. Location of reaction in cell. Aerobic is in the mitochondria, whereas photosynthesis is in the chloroplasts. Reactants, well, it's I'm going to do it in symbols. C6H12O6 plus 6O2, and the products is 6CO2 plus 6H2O. And the reason why I've done them in our order, because that's going to go there and that's going to go there, as in the reaction. They are opposite of reactions. Enzymes required is yes and yes. These are chemical reactions controlled by enzymes, and therefore temperature affects both of these reactions. Get it too hot and the reactions stop because the enzymes denature. Then we're on to respiration types. So we've just done the reactants and products. So let's do it again quickly. I've got, I'm going to do it in words this time. Glucose plus oxygen. And the products are, I'm going to do the shorthand for CO2, plus water. Whereas anaerobic is, the reactants is just glucose. I'm just going to split glucose. And the products in animals is lactic acid. In yeast and plants, it is ethanol plus CO2. So glucose is a 6 carbon. Lactic acid is a 3 carbon. So you make 2 lactic acids from a glucose. Ethanol's a 2 carbon, and therefore you make 2 ethanols and 2 CO2s, and that gives you your 6 carbons. Location in cell, so that's our mitochondria, as it was above. Whereas here, it's in the cytoplasm. Energy release high or low, it's high. Because the glucose is fully oxidized. However, there's energy in lactic acid and ethanol. And how waste products are removed from the organism. So this is where we get into exhaled by lungs. That's the CO2. CO2 is the waste product. And in for lactic acid, it's oxidized by liver. Oxidized by liver. Oxidized by liver. Right. And we don't need to know how yeast and plant cells get shut of it, but I'll put it there anyway. So you can see how much you can get done really quickly on these. Admittedly, I know the answer, so I'm filling them in quickly, but it's also a way of covering a lot of content. Parts of blood. So let's go for this. Forms a cellular fraction of blood. Well, the word cells tells me it's a cellular fraction, but so are platelets. Plasma's a liquid. Has a nucleus. Only white blood cells have a nucleus. Contains hemoglobin. That's just red blood cells. Engulfs and digests pathogens. That's the phagocytes, a type of white blood cell. Transports glucose, amino acids, and hormones. That's all dissolved in the blood plasma. Makes antibodies and antitoxins. That's the lymphocytes. That's a white blood cell. Involved in clotting. There he is. The platelet transports antibodies. That's the plasma. That's what people get wrong and think it's the white blood cells are transporting them. It's not. They just release them and it just spreads around the body in the blood plasma. So again, we've zipped through that, but again, tables of differences are really useful for that kind of stuff. Let's do digestion. So I've got starch, proteins, and fats. Name of the enzyme that does the digesting. So we've got amylase for starch. Proteins is protease, and fats or lipids are called lipase. The correct name of starch is amylose, hence amylase. Place where the enzyme is made. So it's salivary glands. Small intestine and pancreas. I'm putting PSI equals small intestine. P equals pancreas. Proteases are made in the stomach. SI, comma P as well. And lipases are just small intestine and pancreas. All enzymes are made in the small intestine and pancreas. Products of digestion, amylase goes into sugar. Proteins go into amino acids. In shorthand, sorry, I better not, in case we think you can write it in an exam. Amino acids. And fats go into fatty acids plus glycerol. How does bile play a role in digestion of fats? Where is it made and stored? So liver makes bile. Stored in gallbladder. A lot of you did really well on this one in the mock. Oops, can't spell bladder. And it neutralizes stomach acids. Neutralizes. How do I write this in a better way? Because it's what comes out of the stomach. It neutralizes. It neutralizes. How do I say it? I don't say contents of stomach because it doesn't go into the stomach. It's when it leaves the stomach that's where it's neutralized. So it neutralizes digesting juices from stomach. Maybe you can think of a better way. Maybe that's a good way of revising. But yeah, it's and it also emulsifies fat. Emulsifies fat. Both of these mean that lipase works better. So for emulsifying fat, there's a greater surface area for lipase to work on. So yeah, we're going from a big fat blob, small fat globules, and therefore lipase can work faster. Bile does not digest things; it doesn't get it into a small soluble molecule. So yeah, be careful there. Number 6, proteins, a hormone secreted by the pancreas that causes the liver to take in glucose. That's insulin. This is a 6 marker. How are different proteins in biology. Transports oxygen. Again, people put red blood cells here, but that's not a protein, it's hemoglobin. Biological catalyst is an enzyme. The protein glue between cells that's only kind of mentioned once is called collagen, just as an example of a structural protein. I think it's in the genetics topic. Monoclonal ones are made by hybridoma cells. Those are antibodies. And then last two tables, I've zipped through this. Oh, I'm ready for an exam. Where it takes place in animals or mitosis, not everywhere. I would always put skin here. We're losing skin, therefore I need to make more skin. Bone marrow would be another good one. If you remember year 9, where are stem cells? They're in the skin and the bone marrow. Yeah, my brain cells are never doing mitosis. Meiosis in animals, well, I'd be going for the testes, ovaries, not sperm. Sperm are a product of meiosis. They don't do meiosis. Chromosomes are copied beforehand. Yep, and yep. Number of cells produced from one parent cell. I get 2. I get 4. And why is it needed? Mitosis. It's for growth and repair. Bone marrow's growing new lymphocytes. And my skin's being repaired. Meiosis. Why do we need it? We need it to halve the chromosome number. It is restored at fertilization. It is, or not doubled at fertilization. Yeah, so you have to halve it first, hence why there's a double division. But the main one is to gain variation in offspring. So it's to mix alleles of genes for variation in offspring. So that's the important bit. It enables evolution to take place if you have variation. And then finally, transport, finally on just ticks. So occurs down a concentration gradient. Well, diffusion does and osmosis does. Yeah, and it says only occurs down a concentration gradient. Yeah, so osmosis is water diffusing down a gradient. Yeah, water can move by this process. Well, obviously osmosis can, as in osmosis is the diffusion of water, but it can also diffuse through the air as water vapor. So there's 2 ticks there. Requires a partially permeable membrane. Osmosis requires a partially permeable membrane. Requires kinetic energy to function. Well, kinetic energy is just movement. So they all require movement to function. You need to be very careful here, and hence the next question requires extra energy from respiration. Yes, active transport. So if you had to describe active transport and you just said, oh, it requires energy, or why is active transport different to diffusion? It requires energy, no mark. Requires extra energy, you get a mark. How water is lost from a plant by transpiration, that's just diffusion. It's just diffusing from like the surface of cells in like the cell wall, and it's diffusing out through the airspace, through the stomata. So it's just water vapor. Glucose is reabsorbed back into the blood in the kidney by this process. Yeah, that's active transport. And red blood cells swell when plasma is dilute due to this process. Is good old osmosis. So we've covered lots there, and hopefully there was something that you thought you knew but you didn't. Wonderful. I'll stop there.